the last week started off with a trip to Ramallah. Charlie, who founded SkatePAL, recommends and encourages us to get in touch with the local skateboarders. So I found one of them called Marj through Facebook, and he came to meet us when we got to the plaza. The plaza was actually extremely hard to skate due to the tiles being really dusty and slippery. After skating here for a while, Marge took us around to some of the other local skate spots. Again, one of these places was a school, and we had absolutely no trouble skating there. In the evening, we headed to a place called the Snow Bar. The next day we headed back to Asira to start our last week of teaching, and I was absolutely gutted when we arrived at the skate park to find the lock on the container was broken because somebody had tampered with it and obviously tried to break in. I'm hoping the kids were trying to break in because they wanted to skate, and it's not somebody seeing all those boards and thinking that they can make money out of it. Almost ironically, during the skate session of that day we had a board stolen. And it wasn't until later in the evening when myself and Ray were in town that we noticed some kids were skating on the board. There was a big kerfuffle, but we did get it back. And I've questioned afterwards whether we did the right thing by getting it back. I made sure that no money had been exchanged for this board. And I know for sure that the kids that were skating on it, they were never at the skate park that day, therefore they could have never been the ones that took it. Midweek, we met up with a guy called Abood who makes falafel at one of the falafel houses. He told me and the SkatePAL volunteers about how the previous ones he'd taken for breakfast up on a mountain and invited us. It was very kind of him to do this for us, and it was great to get to know him and his cousin. We finally managed to get a meeting in the last week with the girls' school to organise some scheduled classes. This was very last minute, but I'm glad we pulled it off. Originally, Mohammed from the council wanted us to close the skate park on Tuesday and Wednesday just to have purely girls, but we knew at such short notice that this wasn't going to be possible, so instead we suggested that the park would be just girls 4 till 6, and then after that everybody could come in and skate. This worked really well on the first day. The girls had the park to themselves, there was no trouble. On the Wednesday, a group of boys turned up and it really caused a stir. They were really upset and angry that they couldn't come in. The girls were getting upset because they wouldn't leave them alone. We made a lot of progress with the girls' school. I know they had some lessons when Lily and Danny had come to Asira to help build the skate park. That was last year, and to think that they hadn't had, a time like this since then is quite sad. I hope that it isn't long until the next lot of female volunteers go out so that again they can run the girls only classes. One day we also visited a friend that Antoine had made. He was one of many Palestinians that we'd met that had experiences of being in jail and having this kind of lifetime ban on being able to travel through Israel. If you're a Palestinian and you can't travel through Israel, that means you can never leave Palestine because you have to go through Israel in order to get to any other country. He showed us footage of when he was released from prison and when he met up with all of his friends and family. It's actually been a couple of times in Asira where a big convoy of cars have gone by with blaring music and dancing and partying, and we have been told this is to mark when someone's released from prison. So in terms of volunteering for the last week, the boys that had been with us the most, which was Josh and Krista, left early, and so Antoine came over from the Zababde park to take over so we could do some kind of handover. I have so much love for this guy. As soon as he came over, he got stuck in with cleaning the park and helping the kids. I felt really confident leaving Asira knowing that him and the other guys from Zababde are going to be in charge. We visited some more of the locals this week. On the very last day, we met Abdullah from Kalkilia in Nablus, and he travelled back to Asira with us. And then in the morning, he took us to Kalkilia and helped us through the checkpoint. We stayed one night in Tel Aviv. It was kind of almost like a culture shock coming back to kind of a Western world where there's nightclubs and drinking on the beach. In that respect, Tel Aviv was a lot to take in because you almost felt guilty that this seemed like such a nice place, and guilty that, you know, we could just so easily leave Palestine, whereas many of the people there that we'd met in the last week had these 100-year bans on traveling through Israel. Definitely makes you appreciate freedom in whatever definition you could say freedom is. I'll definitely be going back to Palestine, and I hope that everyone keeps up the good work that they're doing over there. And thank you to Charlie and SkatePAL for such a rad experience.